Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to GENiUS Embodied.
Yay.
This is our opportunity to meet you for the first time. We're so excited that you're here. There's a whole bunch of people taking this course who know us, who've worked with us before, so welcome back. Thank you for joining us for this first time ever for releasing GENiUS frequency through GENiUS Embodied. And there are also quite a number of you who've never worked with us before. So we're honored to be with you. And for everyone here, this is such a wonderful opportunity for you to deepen your connection with your body, and it will change your life. And we're just really thrilled. So this foundational course, this class that we're presenting to you, is our way of making sure that you have everything that you need to have an exquisite experience. So we're going to lay out some fundamental pieces of how to work with us, what the class will be like, things that will support you throughout, how to practice, and we're going to go ahead and get started.
Yes, we have so much to give you in this program, and each time that we meet for the live classes, we're going to dive right in. So this class is loaded with stuff that, if you know and have understanding of, will create a lot of smoothness in the classes. Yeah. So here we go.
So we're going to do a little bit of a screen share here.
Yeah. Okay.
Welcome to GENiUS Embodied, and we're going to roll right into this.
Welcome to call 0. So our first call is in a few days, and this call is the foundation. So we're going to start with container and intention on things you want to know to get the most out of the course. The next is we're going to give you some actual content that will support your body exploration, the human terrain. And part 3 is that some guidance on the journey we're about to embark on together. Brian and I in our work often compare it to like we're about to journey into the Amazon.
Yes.
We're your guide.
Yes.
This is like pre-trip, like what you need to know.
Yes.
Okay. GENiUS Embodied intention. Our intention is to give you embodiment tools for you to connect with the ingredients of creation. In doing so, you gain the capacity to create transformation with your body, yourself, and humanity. This will energize you to unveil your genius, live your destiny, and access your free will. Successful teaching involves giving and receiving, and commitments on both ends. We'll talk about that more in a moment. This call is about how we can all be successful in this journey together.
So 2 paths become 1. So there's a thematic in GENiUS frequency where we're always looking at how 2 entities, 2 things, 2 experiences are weaving into one, and then that one thing, which is everything, splits back into 2. And so there's this dance. And embedded within GENiUS frequency is this code of duality and unity. So we live in a dual reality, and we also live in a reality that's just one thing happening all the time. So what we'll be diving into is a practice, an embodiment practice that's very powerful, and it's very simple, and it's called elemental embodiment exploration. So elemental because we're going to be exploring 6 elements and how they show up in your body. Embodiment because we're going to be utilizing your body as a means to connect with all of these elements, which your body is composed of. And exploration because we want you to be an explorer. We want your body to be new terrain that you're discovering in a new way. And in doing so, you really have the say-so on everything. We're going to give you a map. We're going to guide you through very specific practices. And then we're also going to say, okay, and explore it, which means that Initially, you're going to want to drive down the road that we're encouraging you to drive down, and then eventually you're going to explore and off-road, and there is an order of operations. So start with exploring in the ways that we're suggesting, and then as you become more familiar with the territory, then you can start to get a little more curious and start to go off-road and play with things. Do it in this way, and you'll have a really magical experience. Now, within the two paths part of things, there is a collective path and there's an individual path. And each one has a specific way in which it impacts you and your body and your reality. For this course, GENiUS Embodied, we're going to be exploring the collective path. And this is the path that is true for all humans. It's the same road. It's the same path. And why we're doing this one is because it will support your body to learn how to process all of your life, the reality that you're living right now in this moment, and every reality and moment that preceded this one. And any moment that was not safe for you to experience, the collective path will create a way for your system to process very efficiently and very effortlessly and very easily. The individual path happens because of when you landed, there is a specific elemental code that gets set into motion. And that one is individual and unique for every single person. We will not be exploring the individual code for this particular course, and we will dive into that on our follow-up course. And so that path creates a quantum capacity to digest information and really accelerates people's capacity to rapidly tune into and turn on their genius. And that one is best done when you really have that slow, steady collective path. So the collective path is going to support you to unwind a lot of trauma that's happened in your life in a very safe and gentle way. And we really want that part to be well intact before we go into the individual elemental code.
Yeah, so you're starting in the right place. Here we go. Along this talk and along many things, we will take pauses to breathe. And this is not only a pause for us and for you as you intake information, but it's also learning. So we're going to teach you and experience these six different types of breath. And this first one is an earth breath. So just sit back and we're going to take 2 breaths together in the nose and out the mouth. Inhaling here in the nose and exhale through your mouth. Just experience while you do this. In the nose again and out the mouth.
And you're actually right. There are actually only 5, but there's this like trump card breath. And we'll talk about that when we get to it.
At
so
the end of the call.
Like 5, but there is a 6.
You'll see what we mean.
Yeah. Setting the space. So setting the space is really important to us. And this is going to create a safe container for you, for everyone who's on the call, and for us to be able to deliver in a way that's deep and intimate. And so setting the space for our journey together is the best first content to explore and commitment we can make with each other to ensure a fulfilling experience for all. So here is our collective commitment.
The first one is confidentiality. We are all going to experience something together. There may be shares on the call, questions on the call, and we're also going to have a Telegram thread that is going to be private and closed to this group. And essentially everything that happens in the group stays in the group. You are welcome to exuberantly share the benefits you're receiving, your experiences that are private and personal to you. That's your business. And then anything that happens with other people inside this program stays in the program.
Mm-hmm. And after confidentiality, we have consent. And what that means is that you've signed onto this program, so you've consented to take it. And every step along the way, you are going to be giving your consent or not. And what that simply means is that as we move into the exploration part of things, we're going to give you guidelines and suggestions on how to work with your body in a very specific way. And at certain points, you may instinctively or intuitively go like, I don't want to do this, and I don't know why. And so you have consent to not do it. And it may just be for the live call, and then maybe you practice it in your own time and space. Maybe it's because we're doing a couple different things and you're still processing the first one. And so it's really important that if you're having a deep experience with the first exploration and we go into a second one, and you don't feel ready to go there, then just opt out. And so your consent is, I'm saying yes to this program. And then within the context of this program, you'll have many moments along the way. And it's your responsibility to know what's yes for you and know what's no, and then follow that.
Yes. The next is consciousness. So all of consciousness is stored and living in your body and around your body. We'll talk more about that, where that is in a moment. And as you connect with these different embodiment explorations, your consciousness will be liberated, will be expanded, and trauma will be released, and things will come up. And the cool and magical thing about it is that your body will open up and will release what you are ready to release. So that means if it's happening, you can handle it and you're ready and it's time. So just knowing that and being conscious of it. And the next one is observing it when it happens. You're like, oh, okay, this is my stuff. This happens with me. You know yourself at this point. And so you know what are the thoughts that play out in your head, your insecurities, your worries, your fears, you're familiar with them. So observe when they come up. Simply observe. And then you know yourself better than anyone, and you know what growth looks like for you. For example, growth for you in this moment, maybe I don't need to fix this, I just need to experience it. I get that about myself, or you might know that as your stuff comes up, the best thing for you to do within the next couple of days is like share it with someone so you're not alone in it. And this is going to permeate all areas of your life. So just be conscious, observe yourself, lean into what is growth for you, because there is so much available to you here.
Mm-hmm.
Like this program is like around 2 months long if you do each class once a week. And like you can get years worth of growth if you apply yourself inside this program. So there's no limit. And be gracious, patient, loving with yourself, and lean into your edges.
And where Chelsea Ray was talking about all the parts of you that you know and how to be with that, I'm going to go into ownership, which means that you take ownership of all the things that you know about yourself as they arise, and you're going to connect with a whole bunch of parts of yourself that you don't know. And you don't know that they live there, and you didn't know that these things happen because they were traumas and you may have forgotten about them. And so as parts of you arise that you're not familiar with, that you don't know, that are brand new, it's very important for you to know that the only way that they got there is because of you. You lived your life and things happened, and there were certain things that happened that were too much. And so just be conscious of taking ownership of everything that emerges as it shows up. And this isn't always possible right when it comes up. You know, you may need to yell and scream and blame and all the things. So experience everything fully. The ownership part is usually an arc that happens after you get through the full experience. Mm-hmm. So when things arise, allow them to go through the full arc. And most of the times, people want to take action and do something about the experience before they fully experience it. So give yourself space to fully experience the experience completely before you feel like you need to do something about it or make some massive change in your life. You will know very clearly and very calmly what to do next if you allow the full arc to happen, and that is truly taking ownership.
Yes, beautiful. And one more piece of clarifying is that, like, what we mean when we say this is we're not responsible for everything that happens to us in life, right? There's so much in life that we can't control and we didn't ask for, right? And so we're not responsible for that. What we're responsible for is what we do with it, how we respond, and like already you're showing great responsibility for yourself for like taking this program, and like yes to you for doing that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to clarify that what we
Thank you. That's really important.
Oh, the last one is shares. At times we will invite shares for the program, and what you can, and it will be on the calls occasionally and also in the Telegram thread.
More so in the thread.
Yeah, and we're doing this, we're providing this avenue because this is work that not everyone on earth is doing, right? Like most of us are like maybe the only person in our family doing this. You might not have a community of people. It's common to not have a community of people who are really opening and expanding themselves. So there's one here, and y'all can lean into each other if you want to. And so sharing like a cool experience that you had, sharing a question that's coming up, anything that's relevant to your experience in this group, you're invited to share in this program. Which
means that if it's not about this group and it's not about this program, then the thread and on the calls is not the space for that. And
thanks, Brian.
And the shares are really important also because it allows us to be witnessed. So, Chelsea Ray mentioned, most of us don't have a community, and one of the really powerful things missing from our culture is this ability to be witnessed and seen. And nobody has to solve or fix anything. So just know also, they're likely going to be, in fact, I know there are a lot of people who are in the healing arts and who are, powerful healers and have great skill. And we know that your heart is in the right space. And it's so easy for us to want to jump in and like help and support and do something about it. And so honor people in their shares by just witnessing them. And that's on both ends of the spectrum. So people share a huge win at celebration, like, you don't have to give them advice or like what to do with their great win or whatever. And same thing goes for, if they have a really deep, powerful, like, intense experience. This is not the space where you need to jump in and support or give advice. It's just there to witness. And the power of witnessing is many times so much more than any advice that we could give. In fact, most people want to give advice in our modern culture simply because we don't have a place to be witnessed. And if we did have a place to be witnessed, we would find we don't really need to give that much advice, because the wisdom is contained within your body, and in being seen, that wisdom is allowed to emerge. And then suddenly we are our own consultant and guru and coach and mentor. And then suddenly we realize like, oh, I don't need that. I just need to be seen, heard, and held. Yeah, people will generally self-inform, and the witnessing is what helps it be fully experienced. So that's a key to this work. One more thing I want to add on the benefit of being witnessed, because I personally was never a big like, oh yeah, let me be seen in this. I didn't really get the value until I did. And here's what it is. There's so many things that I had to learn over and over and over and over again, but like I wasn't fully embodying them and making good on what I knew, and it was really frustrating. And when I started to bring those things to a table to be witnessed in the right places, like I suddenly got it. There's something magical about being seen and knowing you're being seen and being held in that like the learning just happens. So you can save a lot of time. Yes. You can save a lot of stress and a lot of frustration by feeling into like the right place and time to share something and be witnessed. Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Get the most from this program. Oh, you were going to talk. Please do. Yeah. So time. Make sure that you do your very, very best to carve out some space before the program starts. So before a call, have some time. I know that life is busy, and this is on the end of do your best. And some of you are really good at it, and you'll show up 15 minutes before and just sit there and wait and hold space for yourself and other people. And that's brilliant. And if that's not you, then we want you to lean into that a little bit. So that's before the call. After the call, it's really important to not like schedule something else. Give yourself space and time afterwards so that you can integrate and not have to jump into the next. And then the time that we're in there, we're going to kind of give you a little bit of the lay of the land in terms of times for each call at the end of the slide. And we request that you know that it's a 75-minute call, and we're going to do our very best to honor that. And sometimes we might go a little bit over into that 90-minute space. So make sure you have that time set aside.
Thank you. Yes. Another reason why you want nothing scheduled at the end of the program is that you'll change through doing this. And so you might find after the call that like, you're so hungry. And if you have room to eat, it'll be like the best meal you've ever had. Or like you need a bath, or you need to journal, or you need to call someone that you love. And like just having that availability to make moves on what you feel aligned with doing is so powerful. That's part of you becoming the person you're meant to come,
Yes.
you're meant to become, and being able to be changed by this work.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay, space. So time and space are the keys to making something real. The space you need for this program is enough space to like stretch your body out. And we find that the floor is best. If you have a slightly cushioned floor, a rug, a yoga mat, you want to be able to stretch out your whole body straight head to tail, and then some room on the sides as well. We find that a bed can sometimes be too cushioned.
Yeah.
And a couch does not give enough space for you to fully move. So those are some things that we find. And you want to also, a part of the space is you want to be able to make sound freely if you want. Sometimes you'll want to move freely, you want to make sound freely. That's really important that you feel safe to do that. So do your best to create those conditions for yourself, whatever that means for you. Some people, the best place, we would say, don't try to do this call in the car because it's an embodiment practice. But like, if for some reason in your life right now, the car feels the best to you, like that's your prerogative. But we've set, here are the guidelines for what you'll get the most out of for.
Yeah. And one other thing on that, I know a lot of you have, close family, like your loved one, and they're not to be in the room, and simply because this is your sacred time and space. And another little loved one that I want you to pay attention to, again, these are guidelines, these are suggestions for getting the most from the program. You have consent on whether you want to agree to this or not agree to this. If you have a dog or a cat, they're loving beings and creatures, and at the same time, when you're about to move into something, you might utilize that as a distraction for really going deeper. And so animals are very attuned to you, and they'll know, and they'll be sensed, and they're going to want to help, and they're going to want to jump in, and you'll be like, oh, I can pet my animal, instead of like being with yourself. So my suggestion would be give them their own space so you can fully have your own space. You'll come back a better human for them. Journal. So this means just have a journal, have something to write with. It can be your favorite, it can be whatever, but just have space, because we may ask you a question and ask you to write some things. Writing down your experience. You might have this like mind-blowing experience that you want to capture in the moment, because you're probably going to forget some of the important details. And so the ability to capture that either during or afterwards. So we highly recommend time and space afterwards to journal. It will be invaluable. So please bring something to write on.
Yes. Also, connection and questions. We have support in this program. So during the calls, you're welcome to use the chat for anything that you need. If it's like a general question, ask, and you don't have to just send it to everyone, if you want. And you can also personalize them to Megan. You'll find out who she is. If it's technical, you can send it to John. Because we're leading the program, we might not see your chat, but they will. And then between calls, use the Telegram thread. Cool?
Yes. And then home practice. So we are going to be sending you an audio file that has each of the embodiment practices for you to work with, to play with in between classes, and we highly recommend it. And this is a 100% guilt-free class. There is no shame in how you approach this whatsoever, other than the shame that might emerge because you connect with it and it's in your body, right? And so, we're going to give suggestions, and you also have to make it right for you. So some people are going to jump into this and they will develop a morning practice, like right when they wake up, and they're going to do this for 10 or 15 minutes, and they're going to have, amazing changes. Other people may go the first week and not even touch it, the second week and not even touch it. And then the third week, they're like, oh, I really ought to. And all of a sudden it's just like, I'm definitely going to. And so just know that you have your own practice, and certainly we highly recommend it. And we also know that you will choose to engage with the explorations when it's time for you and you're whole enough to do so. So honor that, please. And know that each person is going to have a different rhythm, and we will give instructions on the best. And then it will be up to you to decide how you want to make that work for you.
The intention of each call, I'm going to talk about the call structure in a second, is you'll have an experience of doing it with us, with everyone, a very amplified experience. And if you don't home practice, like Brian was saying, like, that's fine. And our intention is also to teach you these tools so you take them into your living matrix and you know them.
Yes. Okay. And one other quick thing, we will be going through a different element through each class. So each class will focus on a element. And some of you, as you do the exploration on the call, may feel like, wow, that really didn't feel like anything happened. And it may take a few times for you to really connect with it. Other people will deeply connect with it right off the bat on the first call. And when we do it, and then you may work with the home practice exploration and feel like, wow, that wasn't as big. So just know that there are going to be certain elements that are really powerful for you, others that feel like nothing's happening, but nothing is happening. Something is definitely happening. And so stay the course with it, and just notice little nuances, as they are just as important as big, massive changes.
Yes. Okay, so how the calls are going to lay out is the first bit, we're going to talk about the part of the body, your life, the living matrix that we're working with, which are organized by the elements, because the elements are the ingredients of creation that make us up. So we'll talk about the consciousness of, say, Earth for the first part of the call. And the second part of the call, we're going to do a live demonstration. So we're going to have another person here, and we're going to be working with them and showing you instructional pieces so you can watch us work with the person. We're going to show it to you. And then the last part of the call is the guided journey. So you're going to get to lay back and experience it. We'll guide you to put your hands in certain places and to move in certain ways to optimize your experience. And then the last part of the call is transition back into your life. So that is a space that sometimes could be taken up by the journey if it needs to be more spacious. And sometimes we'll be able to do some questions, maybe some shares. And we intentionally put this piece at the end so that it's not like a harsh clash between your experience in your embodiment ritual to like going back and then opening your phone and your kids and your all of your life, right? So that's meant to be a graceful transition.
Yes. Yeah. And so we'll ask you, like, pop into the thread, what you're noticing. So, that will require you sitting up and like, typing things in and kind of like using your mind and emotions and body in a way that will be supportive and integrative. So we want to bring that integrative process of like doing regular humaning things like answering questions, not to mention that will really help you deeper the embodiment when you share in this way. Yeah,
we integrate together.
Let's breathe. So we're going to do a water breath, which is essentially only using your mouth. So you're going to breathe in through the mouth, and then on the exhale, out through the mouth. And so go ahead and just allow, and this is going to be a word we use often, just allow the breath. You're breathing already, you're just allowing it in the mouth, out the mouth, and take another breath in the mouth. Just allowing it. Beautiful.
Amazing. Indigenous learning. That's what we're going to talk about now. Many of us have been, if you went through the regular schooling or education system, you've been trained to learn in a very cognitive way. And, show me the steps, give me the how-to. And like, we're going to give you that. That's going to be here. And also we want to introduce Indigenous, a more human style of learning. And who is Indigenous? The answer is we are.
Everyone.
And what I mean by that is our teacher, Elder Melodoma Patrice Somé, taught us and many other people that regardless of what color your skin is right now, or what your lifestyle is like right now, or where you live right now, if you trace back every human being's ancestral line, go far enough back, we all lived in harmony with the earth at some point. We all have Indigenous ancestors at one point, and his encouragement is to help us remember who we are in that dimension, in that level. And so while I don't mean to say that that we are Indigenous in the way that it's being used in the culture right now, like I'm honoring that there are people who live in the ways of their Indigenous traditions, and I'm not saying that we're that.
Yeah.
I'm saying what I said, which is if you go far enough back, we all have ancestors who lived in harmony with the earth, and we all had a very human way of functioning, which is different than the way that our society functions. And we're saying that because there's a way to learn, and there's a way to get this information that's going to help you a lot.
Yeah. And so with that, being that you likely grew up going to school and sitting down and having certain rules of engagement, and your learning styles were very cognitively likely based. When we talk about Indigenous learning, we're going to be looking at it from a much more body-based, much more organic, much more, instead of like trying to figure things out or really understand things. And we know that certain people, because of the way that their systems operate, that's important. So we will be giving those cognitive tidbits. We're not just going to bring you straight into the mystery all the time. And the type of learning that we want to lean you into is a learning with your senses. So sensation, we want you to become sensational people. And so your five senses, your touch, your all your five senses, we want you to also be accessing your information through your feelings. So the way that you feel on the inside is essentially the sensations that build up so much that they actually require a different part of the brain to interpret them, which is moving essentially from so here you go, here's some cortical learning for you, from the reptilian brain up into the emotional brain. And that feeling sense is like sensation that's expanded so much that now it's turned into something much more. And it includes a greater part of our body. And then there is a remembering, which is essentially that there are parts that have had to separate because of trauma. It wasn't safe to experience some part of your life. You couldn't feel it sensorially. Meaning you couldn't sense it. You couldn't sense the sensations of that experience. You couldn't feel the feelings associated with it because it was too intense. And cognitively, you may have had to like check out, or you created some kind of story about the experience that is likely very inaccurate because you were in trauma. You had to go into protection. You were in fight, flight, freeze, etc. So we're going to be opening up the sensation, this feeling, this remembering, that meaning pulling different parts of you together into more accurate experiencing. In doing so, that's going to create a new story of whatever happened. So if you do start to pull in parts of yourself that were separated through trauma, then you will start to experience different sensations, different feelings, and you will remember, you will pull those parts in, which will give you the opportunity to then tell a new story of what actually happened and why it happened. And then you will have access to the gifts of why it happened that you are here to share in community. And that's really, really important for our community, is that we access our traumas and we're able to resource the primary gift and give it.
Yes, and all of that information that Brian was just saying is stored in the body and in the living matrix. So the living matrix is something that's not being talked about a whole lot yet, but we think it will be. And people are talking about like the nervous system and brain and all this stuff, but the living matrix is the connective tissue, which houses the nervous system. So it's like more global, more inclusive, even more than that. And it also is related to the energy body. So it's the most inclusive word that we can use to talk about what it is that we're working with here.
And the living matrix, being that it is the connective tissue, is the only system in the entire body that connects with everything in your body. So it is literally the whole system connected as one. And that is what we are going to be accessing over the nerve system. It will be the nerve system through the living matrix, not the other way around. And so a lot of us, especially being that we came from a background of being chiropractors, putting the nerve system and the spine as a primary, the living matrix in this work of GENiUS frequency is the primary, because it is the system that unites everything: the organ system, the nerve system, the respiratory system, the digestive system. Everything is included within the living matrix, to include the energy system around the body.
Yeah, and this system learns. This system houses information. This is where, this is what we mean when we're talking about like where this information is stored with indigenous learning. So think body memory, like so that when you lay down to do this on your own, you just know it. Or like when you're having like a really high pressure time in your life, like you can just remember, you can just pull these out because it's in your instinctual body.
Yes.
And that's how this work is going to be the most useful to you, because especially in two ways, in times when you need it, like we don't think as well. So that's when the cognitive learning doesn't serve you as much. And then also like when it comes to something becoming a part of your life, the more embodied, the better. And when it comes to accessing the fullness of who you are, if you can experience this in a more whole way, you're going to get it more. You're going to get more results. Yeah. Beautiful.
So embodiment equals true knowing, owning, and then just being it. The human, yes, part two is the human terrain. So now we're going to actually get into some details about the body and the very specific places that we're going to be working with in there, 13. And this diagram essentially shows you the chakras, which are essentially at nodal points of the nerve system that are really tapped into the living matrix. And in fact, it is the living matrix that allows the interface of the energy body and the physical body to be connected and eventually united. So this is a great diagram because it displays essentially the portals that we're going to be working with, or at least a few of them. There are more than what's being shown here, but it's an indication that as we work with each element, we're going to be deepening our connection to our dimensionality. So with earth, we're going to see one dimension, water two, and it will grow as we rise with each element. And so we want to show this to you because essentially we're building a pathway through your physical body as it connects to your energy body. And when that opens up, your capacity, your genius opens up, essentially, as we are looking at the definition of genius in terms of its origins, meaning that it is the attendant spirit connected with a person. And from the indigenous, it is their free-flowing line to spirit, it is their open flowing line to spirit or the world beyond, the other world. So this is where we're headed.
Yes, and these portals get bigger than what this diagram shows.
Yes.
And we just wanted to give you the idea of how it moves, how our bodies work when we're a fully functioning human.
Yes.
That's where we're going.
So get ready to get turned on.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to teach you more in a minute. And before that, the fire breath is the perfect thing to do. You look at this one?
Yes.
For learning. Okay. The fire breath is in the nose, out the nose. So mouth is closed. If if your nose is accessible, go ahead and breathe in the nose all together. And out the nose. And again, in the nose. And out. Good. So experiencing that. Okay.
The 13 sacred sites. So we're going to go through 13 sacred sites in your body, what elements they're related to, and very specifically where they are in your body. And then we're going to take you through this, and we're going to ask you that you follow along. So this is a part for you to participate with and in. If the most important thing that you can take from this whole presentation is learn these sites. Go over them before our first call, because we're going to keep going back to these every single call. And so when we can say, okay, place your hands on nature 2, and you know exactly where to go, that's the crown, then that's going to be it's going to make it easier, so you can really just kind of dive in and not have to think. So that's the one cognitive thing that we're going to ask you to learn and practice. And we're going to start with this call.
Yeah. So you want to know these guys by name here. We'll go through them all together. Something to know is that there are 6 elements, and there are 2 places for each elements, which makes 12 sites. And then the face is the 13th site. Yes. And the face is not connected to one element, but more connected to all elements. Yes. It's like a map of everything. So that is the lay of the land there. Yeah.
And so before we go into kind of those 2 different layouts with only 6, we're going to just go through each of them all the way up, just so that you know where the places are, and then we'll do it with our bodies. So the very first place,
we're going to turn on our screen so that we can show them the hand positions.
Yeah, I just wanted to go through actually the names of them first. Yeah. Cool. So the very first is at the very bottom of the perineum. Essentially, if you bring your hands right to the edge of your anus, so your fingertips right to there, that's the perineum, and that's the very first earth position. The second earth position is the pubic bone, which is a bone that is right in the front, and we'll show you that when we get to it. The water positions are: water 1 is bladder, which is just above the pubic bone. And by the way, each one of these is just 1 hand width on top. If you were to go your whole front side of your body 1 hand width up, you would hit all of these sites. Water 2 is the belly button. And then we have fire, starting with basically your pinky just above your belly button. And that's fire 1. And then your thumb below the bottom of the sternum, there's a little pointy place. That is fire 2. And then the very bottom of the sternum, lower sternum, is mineral 1. And then your heart position is mineral 2. The collarbones, as they come together at the very top of the sternum, is air 1. And then your throat is air 2. And then your third eye is nature 1, which is right here. And then your crown is nature 2. And so now we're going to go ahead and look at the different pathways. One of them, so this is the inner locations, refers to the locations that support the energy that moves inside your body. And then the second we're going to see are 6 locations, including the face, which are in support of the energy that moves outside your body, in your energy body. And so we already went through all of these. This is just the lay of the land in terms of what we would call a 1 position, focusing with the energy inside the body, or a 2 position, which focuses the energy on the outside of the body.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to go ahead and stop screen share, and we're going to bring us back on so that you can see, and we're going to guide you through bringing your hands in every position. And we're going to change our position so that you can actually see. So you'll see that we'll stand up so that you can see different positions. And
move this backwards a bit.
So
there we go.
The very first position is, and you're taking.
And there's one thing I want to mention before we dive in. So we're about to go into all this together. And what we just showed you is the map. And something Brian and I will talk about a lot is like, there's the map, and that's like theoretical,
Right.
right? That's the GPS.
Mhm.
And then there's the terrain, which is like
You're looking
actual.
out the window and you're seeing what's really there.
Yeah, it's like the actual buildings that are around you, the actual things that are available. So,
And sometimes those two don't line up.
right. So we showed you the maps,
Mhm.
right? And then what's true is that every body is physically different.
Yes.
And also like ability varies.
Mhm.
So we're gonna show you both on a what we call an any-body
Mhm.
or an any-body and an outie-body. Meaning like I have like female parts and he has male
Mhm.
parts.
Right.
So we're gonna show you how it looks to reach these places and also about ability. Everybody's varied. So
Mhm.
say if you're pregnant, you're gonna have a hard time reaching some spots. If your body is larger, you could have a hard time reaching some spots. If you have a shoulder
Yeah.
shoulder injury, you might not be able to get your hand up here.
Mhm.
Or if you're missing an arm right now, like you know, if you don't have hands or an arm, you still have an energetic arm.
Mhm.
And so we would say if that does apply to you, imagine and coordinate your energetic arms to do this
Mhm.
or to do whatever it is that we're doing, and that will work for you. And the point we're making about this is what you're able to do is actually perfect for what you're supposed to open up.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a do your best. We're going to
Mhm.
show you what it looks like with our bodies, our hands,
Mhm.
and depending upon your body and hands or not, then you're going to do your best with what you have. And you know that best because you have your body and you've already had to navigate everything with the body that you have. So, and if there are any questions, you know, throughout the program that you want refinement with, that's a great place to toss it into the chat. And then we can answer them there.
Yes.
So
Okay.
we're going to go ahead and we're going to stand up. So you're not going to see our heads. We'll pop
Yeah.
it down and make little comments. But we asked it, and you don't have to stand. We're just doing this so that you can see us with the camera. So you can stay seated or you can be on the ground, whatever's comfortable. In the explorations, we'll very specifically guide you in positions. And then of course, it's up to you whether you want to choose those positions or do something else that works better.
Great.
So we're going to start with Earth 1. And no matter what we're going to have, and it doesn't matter whether you want your right hand there or your left hand, whatever is most comfortable, but basically it's going to be one hand over the other. And we're going to bring this hand up underneath. And so you'll see that I'm sliding my hand and I'm going all the way. And because I have outie parts, I might have to kind of arrange them differently, but my fingertips are going to be right up at the edge of the anus. And that is the perineum, is what that is. And that's Earth 1. There you go.
Say this with us.
Yes.
And experience what it's like when you're here. Experience your breath, your
Yes.
body, what's happening when you're here. This is the first taste. So the first impression.
Play along.
Please. Yeah, play along.
And then Earth 2, fingers still pointed down like this. There's a bone right here, and you're going to place the heel of your hand on that bone, and that is called the pubic bone, and that's Earth 2. Okay. Then you're going to switch your hand position to this way, and we're going to go all the way up this way until we get to the nature positions, and then we're going to go just like Earth, but with the fingertips up. So now I'm going to go ahead and sit down. Well, no, I'm not. So we're going to go bladder, which is basically, here's the pubic bone. Now my pinky is just above that. That's bladder position. And then we're going to go, that's water 1. And then we're going to go to the belly button. So my belly button is right here, and the center of my hand is right on the belly button, and that's water 2. Now I'm going to sit down. Can I? Yeah. As long as I get on my knees. Okay, so belly, so that's water 2. Then we're going to go pinky just above the belly button. So my belly button's here, my pinky's right above that, and that's fire 1. And then one hand position above that, I could just stick this hand right here, and my thumb would be right, here's the bottom of my sternum, my hand is just below that. So that's fire 2. Then there's the bottom of the sternum, and I do one hand above that, and that's mineral 1. And then heart position, one hand above that, and that's mineral 2. And then we go to air 1, which is basically thumbs will be right where the clavicles are. Collarbone. And that is air 1.
Air 1.
Air 1.
Are you saying it?
And then we're going to go to the throat.
This.
Don't squeeze. And this is air 2. And then the 13th position, we're going to stop there right here. This is your hands on your face. so that your fingers are just below your eyebrow, or at least on it, on the ground. You can be a little bit more to the side. And this is kind of like a life raft. So if you ever get to a place where it's like something's really intense, there are like 42 muscles in the face, and they're all wired into the emotional brain. And so this is kind of like Canada or Switzerland. It supports you to kind of have equanimous experience against it, start to, take anything that's intense and drop it down. Then we're going to, just like Earth with nature, we're going to have our fingers pointed up. And then again, if you can do this, if you can't, you can go, again, whatever works. But basically, the heel of your hand is going to be right at the bridge of your nose, and the other hand's right on top. And that allows your third eye to be right in the center of your hand. And then if you have a hairline, then the heel of your hand is going to start right at the hairline. So mine, I just have to imagine I can still feel little prickly hairs up there. And this is your crown position. That's nature 2. And so that's all the 12 6 elements, a 1 and a 2. Each one's a hand length up, your whole body. It's amazing. The human body is perfectly proportioned for all 6 of these elements, with 2 locations and then a sacred 13th where your face is. Okay. And you'll notice, like, a lot of times when people feel a lot of intense emotions, they'll want to cover their eyes or put their hands on their face or something else. They'll be like, they put their hands here because it's helping them experience the energy of intense emotion. So we're going to shift back to screen share here for our final slides.
And we'll send you this document as well, so that, or this document, we mean this image, so that you can use it in your home study if you want. Okay. 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 Scoot this a little bit. Take this one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Air breath is a little, I call it as backwards breath of what we're normally taught. It's in the mouth and out the nose. So we're going to inhale all together in through the mouth.
Just allowing.
And then out through your nose. Close the mouth and just allow the exhale. And again, in through the mouth, out through the nose.
Beautiful.
Brian made a really good point that I want to share, is that he says allowing, we say allowing the breath, because we're not ever going to recommend that you try to take a deep breath or try to breathe. However much your body is naturally breathing is the right amount. And how much it is or is not breathing and where it is or is not breathing is communication to you. That's a message to you. That's a sign. So we'll talk once we get into the course more about how to read the signs and how to navigate the terrain that is your body and use the breath as a tool to communicate with your body.
Yes.
But that's for later. And that's why we don't force it.
On that note, what is connection? So the very first and most important aspect of connection that we're going to be looking at is the breath. And so, as Chelsea Ray was saying, allowing the breath is really important information. So we're not going to be ever saying take a breath or take a deep breath or anything about the quality or depth of your breath. We want you to simply allow the breath. It is an indicator of what is true and real in any given moment. And what you'll find is the very first class that we have when we're exploring Earth, you're going to be checking out your hands in positions on those 12, 13 sacred sites. And you're going to find, like, wow, when my hands are in this position, like almost nothing happens. I mean, like, I'm breathing, but it's, not that much. But then when I get to here, it's like all of a sudden this breath comes in and you didn't think about it. You didn't tell yourself to breathe. You weren't given instructions about how to do it. It just happened. It's almost like here was the off button, even though you're still breathing, but here it's like the on button and something turned on, and that's important information. And so we want your body to guide you and show you, and the breath is going to be the most significant indicator. Second to that is your awareness, which means that you have to pay attention and notice, like, wow, I'm breathing less here and I'm breathing more here. And so that awareness is just essentially paying attention to the changes as your body is relaying them to you. So that's number 2. So when we're not connected, it means we don't have as much awareness, and we'll talk about that in a moment. The third sign of connection is energy. It's the ability for you to sense and feel energy. And sometimes before that, it's the ability for your body to move energy that you may not even be aware of. So over time, as you become more connected, you will start to notice energy moving in your body, and you will sense it differently. And that is a very important sign of connection. And last but not least is movement. And that just means that there will be moments where you place your hands in one part of your body and that part or another part starts to move. And it starts to express, and it may shake, and it may, do all kinds of interesting movements. And that movement is a sign of connection. It means that you're turning on. So these are all the ways that we want you to pay attention, with the breath being first and foremost, awareness second, and then energy and movement are going to be kind of the things that happen as a result of your body starting to return to its natural way of breath, because it's safe to do so.
Yes. So the signs of connection are important for you to know as we explore our own human terrains, as we explore the human terrain together. These signs of connection you're going to be looking for, because it's going to tell you where to go.
Yes.
And what I'm about to go over are signs of disconnection, and these tell you don't go here yet.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about these. What works is starting from ease. And that's always what we'll do. We'll start from ease and what's working, and that grows and amplifies.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some signs of disconnection, which are good to note and be aware of. And that's why they're getting your attention. And at the same time, it's probably not going to be where we want to start or focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the first thing is pain, physical pain. You put your hands on a spot and it hurts, or you have pain that increases when you're there. The next is if you're not aware of it or can't feel it. So like if you put your hands there and you notice your awareness jumps to like something random in your life, like you're thinking about something totally different, you can't stay present, that's a sign of like you're not aware of that place, or you can't feel it. Also, can't feel would be like you might be physically numb there. That too. Okay, this is a biggie. Movement without breath. I say it's big because people often don't notice that it's a sign of disconnection. They say it's moving, it's doing something, so that's good. And movement without breath is actually a trauma response. So just note that that's that. The second are your thoughts. So notice if you have thoughts, where you have your hands in a certain place, or you are doing something in life, even that your thoughts are not kind and necessary and true. So any thought that isn't expansive, that doesn't make you feel connected and whole in some way, is a sign of disconnection. It's a sign that it's definitely time to do some elemental embodiment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful. Nature breath, my favorite. So this is the everything all at once breath. This is going to be, you're going to breathe in through the nose and mouth, and you're going to exhale through the nose and mouth. And this one, you might scratch your head and think like, wait, how, what? Just play with it. The easiest way I find, and you will find your own way with this, is to just have your mouth open a little bit. Remember, the holes of your nose are not that big. And so if you make your mouth whole, somewhere around the size of your nose hole, and then just focus a little bit on the inhale of the nose, while at the same time kind of sipping in a little breath with your mouth, you'll start to get it. So let's play with that. So take a breath in the nose and mouth. Out the nose and mouth. And then to test it on the next one, you can kind of open and close your nostrils if you could feel, while you're breathing in through your mouth, whether there's air coming through your nostrils, and same thing as you exhale. And so you can, that's a good way to test that you're getting them through both of those. And that's a really powerful breath. Okay, this looks big and scary, almost as scary as trauma itself. And I'm going to go through this really quickly. I'm going to do my best to not make it traumatic.
I want to mention that the reason we are including this is so that you get a sense of what to look for with the different elements, so that you can start to identify like what honestly you're most excited to unleash. So notice what goes in the different categories of elements. Yeah.
And at the same time, we also want to relay the importance that like something that GENiUS frequency talks about, that we talk about, is basically Earth is a trauma-based learning center.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're all enrolled in. And that's the starting point, right? So, you know, it's like you have to go to grade school before you go to college. And so in a sense, the trauma-based learning center is the grade school of Earth. And we want to graduate ourselves from that. And so it's important to understand that shit's going to happen in your life. It's not going to be pleasant or fun. You're going to have to check out as a result of it. And there is a cycle that you'll have to go through of processing your own trauma. And once you do a certain amount of it, then what flips over is the other side of it, which is where you get to graduate and you get to learn through pleasure, and you get to experience life through pleasure, and you get to digest anything that's painful really simply and quickly and easily. And it doesn't have to be a big bang. It doesn't have to take you down. So here it is. Essentially, we experience our reality physically, chemically, electromagnetically, especially more these days since technology has come around, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. That's how we experience things, through all of these means. If we ever have an experience that's beyond our capacity to fully experience the experience, so we can't process it, the energy and information of it. So there's energy, and then there's that energy and how it informs or takes form in our body. If it's beyond our capacity to experience the energy and information, then we go into trauma response, which is basically it will store in the body. And you very likely at this point heard of fight, flight, freeze, which you're seeing with those 3 red Fs. And of course, there are more. There are many Fs these days, but we'll just stick with those simple ones. Basically, your body is going to go into a certain winding. It's going to take the wound and wound it. It's going to wind that tension. And basically, the matrix, the living matrix of connective tissue, is created through collagen, which is basically a spiral of 3 threads that come together, and your whole body is connected through this spiral of 3 threads. And so that spiral gets wound and bound, which is basically storing, because essentially you are a living liquid crystal. And when we wind that tension, it creates an actual effect on how our energy moves in our body, and it also affects the energy around our body. And that creates essentially tissue tension. And that tissue tension can show up in a variety of different areas. So vertebra can misalign.
And part of it, the part of the slide that has like how we experience it is actually not in this slide, I'm realizing. So we'll want to just say what each element benefits, what each element gives as we go.
Okay, great. So we'll go through that first, and then we'll add that right afterwards.
Okay.
So vertebral misalignment is earth energy. So basically earth goes into protection and distortion by just misaligning vertebra. Water will create a muscular distortion, so the muscles will tighten up and tense up. The fire element, when it's distorting or winding, it will create tension through the spine, spinal cord, specifically the spinal cord, and it will, as a result, decrease energy. When we get into mineral, it will distort the connective tissue, the fascia, the neural tissue, so the spinal cord, and regional spinal and skeletal distortion. So there's many facets to minerals, and there are many facets to how it stores its tension as protection. And then with air, we have decreased respiration and neural tension. You'll notice that there's a thematic that once we get to fire, every single one has neural tension in it, spinal cord tension. Because the spinal cord is made up of a lot of collagen. And then last is nature, which is basically all systems, everything. So when we have nature tension, it will go global, and there's a ton of energy that's stored through nature. So as we release it, it also liberates a whole lot of energy as well. So going on to the gift side of things, when we release tension from Earth, we get
feeling at home in our body,
Mhm.
feeling at home in any room we walk into because we belong with ourselves, like a sense of belonging. Also, resourcefulness, resources, and wealth
Mhm.
are all related to earth.
So abundance, essentially.
Mhm.
And water will give us the capacity to feel more deeply, will expand our emotional bandwidth, will relate better with ourselves. So we will be good to ourselves. We will be kind to ourselves. We will understand when we make mistakes, and we will allow those mistakes to happen. And then we will reflect and project that into our environment, which means that we will relate to other human beings and pretty much everything else in a much kinder and gentler and honoring way.
Yeah, and relating in peace and relationships from that sense of the peace that you have in yourself from that water benefit. And fire is a sense of knowing who you are as an outlet of spirit. So as connected to spirit. So what that means is not the roles that you might play in life, the roles that you might have. And it's not the labels you've been given or the identities. It's you as a being, as a spiritual being, knowing who you are in that capacity that's boundless and infinite. And from there, all the labels and roles feel a lot lighter, and like you can simply occupy them, and you're embodying spirit in all things.
Yeah.
And also, it is a sense of self in your life, so a natural sense of boundaries.
And it also connects us to our ancestors, which means that you will learn who you are, not only through your connection to spirit, you will also learn who you are by being guided by the wins and the mistakes of the past of our lineage. So we will right those things that our ancestors could not.
Yes. You want to do mineral?
And so mineral allows us to deeply in our bones remember who we are. So mineral is all about remembering, and it's in support of us not only remembering and knowing who we are, but we become the way showers for other people. So we become guides in life.
Air, you'll have a sense of timelessness and spaciousness beyond 3D and 4D time. It's five-dimensional experiencing, and a sense of vision as well. Air is being able to see beyond circumstances, see beyond what other people are saying, and see what people don't see yet.
And nature gives us the capacity to feel connected to everything, to recognize that we are, in fact, we are nature, him and herself. We are the expression of all of creation, living in this moment, and yet at the same time connected to every single moment that has ever been.
Yes, great. And can you imagine, okay, all I'm thinking when we're doing this is like, can you imagine if every person were embodying this, what our world would be like? And I'll tell you something, the reason why we're doing this class is so that this program is so that you can have this power in your hands, and you are a person of influence. You have a circle of influence in your life, and when you embody this, the people around you will naturally get it more. And we're more than just ourselves, so we're a group of people influencing humanity as we do this together.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Yes, this is the last part of the call here, our journey together. What we want to start with is in this process, as you go through this, every feeling and every experience that you have is sacred, even and especially the ones that you've been told are bad or shameful, or somebody did something wrong, or I shouldn't feel this because it's not high vibe or not spiritual, or
I don't like this.
or it's not fun.
Yeah.
Every experience is sacred, and the more we can open to those and relax into those, the less time they're going to take. So what I'm saying is, if you don't resist it, it will change. But what we resist persists.
Next is moments of beyond. So what will happen as you deepen your connection to the elements of all of creation that make you up? You will open up your capacity to be more present as trauma strips away, as you are able to take that energy and it's not going anywhere. It is actually just allowing the energy that has been tied up in protection to liberate and be free. And as that happens, you're going to become much more present in this moment. And as you become much more present in this moment, you will start to become more able to expand your awareness beyond this moment. So there are a lot of people who are looking for and accessing through a variety of ways, connection to the beyond. And in GENiUS frequency, and let me also say, and in doing so, they may have to kind of leave this body, leave this time period to do it. And those are dimensional experiences. You're leaving this dimension, you lose some sense of your awareness in your body, in this reality. And it's not a bad thing. I've had many powerful dimensional experiences that have been very instructive. However, what is more powerful is the capacity to be in your body in this reality so powerfully that you expand beyond it. And you have multidimensional experiences, which means that you're so present, you're abundant beyond this. And be aware that you might pop into, for moments, the beyond. And we want to let you know that because it is part of GENiUS frequency. And if it's happening because those moments are here to instruct your journey right here, right now, more fully.
Yeah. And support. So this is an online program, right? Brian and I have most experience working with clients in person, and whether we are in our practice or we're at a retreat or wherever we are, maybe there's one of us, maybe there's two of us. What we've always known is that if something comes up, if there's an intense, a really beautiful, big moment, who is here is who is needed. And we always have what we need. So right now you're at home and there's actually like a really beautiful component to being able to receive this work in like your bedroom. Like that's really alone. Like that's really special. And yay. And we want you to know that even though this is an online program, like what your body unleashes, like what you connect to is appropriate for who's here. So there's kind of levels of opening. There's one-on-one where you can, or one-on-one meaning like you and you. There's you, where what opens is like what you can handle, and you can do a lot on your own. And that's what this program is about.
Yes.
And the next level is like when we're on our group calls, that's going to be an amplification, and you're going to be supported by the energy of us all doing it together. It's really powerful. And then the next level is facilitated. So say you have a facilitator, either you come see us in our practice or at our retreats, or you do some other work with some other facilitator. Facilitator's role is to help you lean into your edges that you can't experience fully on your own. And they're not there to do it for you. They're to help you experience it with support. So who is needed is who is here, and you have the support you need.
And to introduce a few other people on your support team, we want to introduce a component of GENiUS frequency that's very important. And that is that from the GENiUS frequency perspective and story that's being shared, humans are hybrids. We are an amalgamation of different realms that allow us access to different realities. And so the human being is a hybridization of these different realms. And so what are these different realms? Well, on one level, we have our animal friends in physical reality. And as indigenous cultures, such as Native Americans, will tell us that every person, every human being has a connection to up to 9 animals that are not in the physical realm that are here to instruct and guide you. And so the first realm that we want to speak to is that you have animal helpers who are here in support of you. They're not in a physical body, and they may show up as a real physical animal, and they may show up in all these different places while you're kind of tuning into something, and they're there to remind you of something that's really important. You may have other animals show up in a dream space, and again, just be aware as you work with yourself, the animal realm, the invisible animal realm, will be there to support you. You also have your ancestors. So your ancestors are here with you all the time, and you can call on them for support. And in fact, you're going to be deepening your connection with the ancestors, and they have information to give you. And as you deepen your connection with the elements, there will be specific ones that allow you a deeper connection and conversation with your ancestors. So just know they are part of your team. And then, of course, we also have the divine angels who are here in support of us, and they're beings that are beyond the 3rd and 4th dimensions. They're in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th dimension, or however far up it goes. And they're here in support of you. And so some people will have experiences of connection to beings who are of angelic nature, kind of frequency, so to speak. And they're here, they're in support of you. And finally, we have kind of at this end, we have our ancestral realm, and at this end, we have our off-planet star family. And so to fit the A, even they don't necessarily like to be referred in this way, it fits the whole A theme. We have essentially our alien family, our, we talk about indigenous being belonging here on this planet. Well, if you don't belong here on this planet, then you're alien to it. And all that means is that you're indigenous to another realm, another planet in another star system. And they are also here in service to all of us. And along these lines, you have full autonomy, you have full consent as to who you wish to connect with, who you wish to open up with. And especially as we move through the elements, you're going to deepen that connection, deepen that autonomy, and deepen your yeses and deepen your nos. And so just know that if at any point you're like, I'm not cool with this, like, no, in the invisible world is powerful and says like, And so just like in the physical reality, if we are engaging with someone, we're like, I do not want to be in a relationship with you, you need to leave right now, then we have the same capacity. And in fact, in many ways, the invisible realm has stronger orders to respond to no's, and there's no like bargaining. So your strong no is will need to be held. And a lot of times, like, you might have an experience with an angel that's a very high frequency and it's a little bit scary, and you go like, no, like, I know you're here for good, but like too much, like not now, I'm eating dinner or I'm sleeping. And so we just encourage you to know that all of these realms are here to support you through GENiUS frequency, through this program, and it is totally up to you, and it's your call who you want to play with and who you don't.
Sovereign being.
Yes.
Okay.
So one last
breath. Okay. And this is the mineral breath. This is
Yes.
why we said there's kind of like 5 and then one more.
Mhm.
Mineral breath is you can mix it up and do mineral connects all the other elements. So you can do a mixture, whatever happens naturally, just allow what feels best to you. Okay, all together.
Your call.
In
Whatever and out whatever.
See how the breath comes into your body.
And it can change
out
breath per breath.
Yeah. And allow your body to take in, fill up with air the second time.
What did you do?
And then out through however it wants. Feel that expansion and contraction, however it needs to happen.
I asked too soon.
You did.
I did mouth and then mouth. Yeah, I did mouth and mouth nose. Yeah. What was yours? Cool. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We're honored, we're delighted, we're excited. We can't wait to work with all of you. And we can't wait to share in this transformation that's going to be GENiUS embodied.
We want to see you before we even call.
So
yes,
here we are.
Yes. Thank you for taking this in.
Yes, thank you for taking the time and the space.
Honor your journey. And we'll see you on the first call. We're so excited.
Bye.